Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Oscar Cantu with TopCon. I'm joined today by my good friend Jim Preston over there. How you doing, Jim?
Jim Preston with the IP Group for Topcon Positioning
Hey,
Systems.
thanks for joining us, Jim. And welcome everybody to a live stream. Today we're going to talk just conversation about road resurfacing and paving projects. But really, the takeaway for this live stream and for everybody to know is there's a significant webinar happening in 2 days on Thursday that is about a federal grant, which we'll get into here in a second. But just wanted to welcome everybody and let you know about Thursday, but also that we're happy to be talking to you today. Jim, how are things going in the great state of Ohio?
Just fantastic as normal. Ready to get back on the road. It's been a great travel season this year. Been very pleasant.
Yeah. Speaking of travel, go ahead, Jim.
I got to see a lot of really beautiful places so far this year, and looking forward to a lot more of that. And the projects have been just outstanding and very productive. So couldn't ask for a better year.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
busy.
Super busy. I was thinking back when you and I both, a lot of us were at the big event ConExpo back in March, and just what a big event that was. And I've been lucky. I've been at TopCon long enough that I've done that a few times, that event, and never ceases to impress. That thing is just such a grand thing to be a part of.
It's always exciting, and from the Intelligent Paving Group, we had a very, very successful show. We were very pleased with the outcome and the turnout, and of course, the Omnia event's always a great networking capacity. So we're always having a great time.
It really, exactly. And what draws me into that event is, of course, as a TopCon employee, I enjoy working and helping at the TopCon booth. But what's really eye-opening for me every ConExpo is to just walk around and really just take the whole event in. And one of the things that struck me was just how much this has really progressed our industry and the technology that 10 years ago, 15 years ago to now, just how many things have changed so much within the construction and paving industry.
Oh, you're absolutely correct on that. And you look at the paving industry and how much attention is focused on the paving industry in general throughout the entire ConExpo and what's going on today, nationally and internationally.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tremendous amount of focus on the paving world right now, and you're going to see it more and more. It's not going away.
So. Yeah, we were saying that last time in our last live stream, how you really notice it. Like when I, for work, I was very fortunate. Last October, I went to Singapore. I've been to Europe a few times, Canada, Latin America, and you really see a difference in how the roads are maintained all throughout the world, even from Florida to Washington State, Maine to California. There's really a difference, and I'm noticing that a way that here in the States, just like you said, really focusing on how we can do that better, how as a country, as a nation, how we're going to not just do things the way we've done them before, but to truly innovate how roads are done. And one of the things that an article I was reading in preparation for this, right now there's less people driving on the road, there's less people flying. Well, that's a great time to be resurfacing airports and creating new roads right now, for sure.
And that's why we're so busy.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing about this is, you look at the other countries and how advanced they are compared to us, but we've got a lot more, we have many more miles of roads and bridges to maintain than, say, a typical country would in Europe. So the fact that we are moving forward in that, and there's so much attention brought to this at this point, is very important, and it's going to go nowhere but up.
Exactly.
And it's going to continue to expand.
Exactly. And part of that, and that's what I was hoping for us to talk about in this live stream today, is that we know, right? I've been doing a whole lot of reading and research for our session today and for what we do each week, is that the U.S. Departments of Transportation are very much looking for more and more technologies to be applied on the road resurfacing projects. We're seeing that coast to coast. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the conversation seems to be more and more about how projects, either if they require milling and paving or just laying down a whole new road altogether, that the government is using, and not even the government, just contractors, the paving industry, I see this term a lot called resilient, that we're going to make roads as we're improving the nation's infrastructure with road resurfacing projects, rather than just tearing up what was there, laying down a new one, or just laying something on that old road. Rather than doing that, we're trying to seek out ways to make these new roads more and more resilient, and to help the infrastructure of the whole country overall. And the way to do that is to not do the things the way we've always done it, is a term that I keep hearing over and over in the paving industry. And that would be, go ahead, Jim.
No, and on that note, Oscar, and thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of the big initiatives, and you'll hear this from Federal Highway, AASHTO, many of the federal organizations, there's something like EDC, Everyday Counts, and every year they bring together a set of technologies that they want to emphasize for the following few years. EDC2 brought us digital modeling, 3D design, intelligent compaction, what have you. You'll continue to hear those terms. And this is to create roads that have better longevity,
right,
built safer, and built more efficiently than we have done in the past, or as you stated, as we always used to do it.
Mm-hmm. You know,
so this is not going away.
Well, I laugh when you say that. So I came up in the survey side way back in the late 1900s, right? Right. And one of the things that I used to do, probably you too, is we'd go out with a robotic total station or GPS on a pole, and Oscar would go out there because I was the new guy, and I'd take a shot on the edge of pavement, center line, edge of pavement, go up 100 feet, and I take my cross sections, dodging traffic, right? And my fellow crew guys are in the truck drinking water, and I'm out there playing Frogger up and down the road, right? And trying to use my GPS and total station for all that. And that's how we did it. And what I'm struck by is how, if I take a topographic shot here, edge of pavement left, center line, edge of pavement right, and then I go up 100 feet, right there, stop. I just missed 100 feet of data. I don't know what that road is. I'm interpolating between those two known measurements. And how now, like what you and I were sharing earlier, how we're using scanning, obviously, to help know what the road is to start. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, and you know, and we have our RDM1 solution, and we've talked about this on many occasions. And like you said, you know, how long did it take you to do 3 miles of roadway?
Yeah,
cross section. Yeah. You know, several hours, if not more, with multiple crew, and we can do it in less than an hour in some cases. And we pick up all that data. And not only that, you know, we're using that data, and we can talk about that at length later. But we can use that data also to identify striping.
Yeah.
For a stripe replacement. Many states are using that data for IC boundaries because they have to locate the edge of pavement. So when they run IC or intelligent compaction, they can find out where the boundaries are, because many states pay on percent of coverage.
Right. And when you say that, that's good, Chuck. Go ahead, Jim.
No, continue.
That, when I say, as a contractor in the state of Kansas, I'm going to need X amount of dollars to do road restriping. An interesting question back is, where do you get that number? Well, I get that number from, you know, my experience or my background. What I like is what you said is, if I scan that road surface, existing surface, and I have that data, now it's not my opinion, that's data. Now I know exactly what's there. So when I know how much a project's going to cost, it's going to help me on the front end if I scan the existing road surface to start.
And not only that, by having that information, you know, you can get the stripes back exactly where they need to be and not offset or shifted.
Yeah. Another technology that comes up when we say paving and road resurfacing is technologies like e-ticketing, because we talked about safety, which is huge, but things like e-ticketing, and the term is obvious, right? Electronic ticketing. But in regards to road resurfacing or paving, what is e-ticketing, Jim?
So there's many facets to e-ticketing, and in a lot of cases, most people think of e-ticketing as just a paperless ticket. Okay, and from my world where I started, I sat on the back of a paver or I stood out on the roadway and I gathered tickets from the trucks. And they were basically scale tickets. And
Yeah.
we kept a stack of them. We kept track of the quantities and the tonnage. And then we turned them in at the end of the day so the contractor could get payment on that material. So e-ticketing now, what we can do is not only a paperless ticket, so everything's electronic, where we get the weights from the scales automatically transferred to a digital file. Not only that, but we get the existing temperatures as they come out of the plant. We can get the quantities or the tonnage that is loaded on that specific truck, when the truck traveled, what their cycle times were, when they dumped. We can get that whole cycle, okay? And just like a lot of other technologies that we're working with right now, such as intelligent compaction, thermal profiling, e-ticketing, and now dielectric profiling, all that data is collected so we have a record of that entire roadway. So for future maintenance projects, and we do a lot more maintenance than we do new highways. We have to fix what we have. This is all record, so we can have accountability now going back for any warranty work that may need to be done or any additional, resurfacing in the future.
Yeah, I always think of hearing you and others talk about that. Always, obviously, I think of Goldilocks, right? That if that material comes out too hot or too cold, we don't want that. We don't want it too hot. We don't want it too cold. But sometimes we can still work with that. If the material does come too hot to a site, are there things that can be done, whether it's too hot or too cold, or do you start all over? What happens?
Well, no, and in many cases, in the past, what would happen is if the material was coming out or too hot or too cold, or we had thermal segregation or gradation or many of these other variables that come into play. And I'm going to talk about compaction. If we're finding weak spots in the material or the subbase for that matter, because we have real-time feedback with the new technology that is out there, and this is why many of the states are going this route, we can correct it much sooner. And then instead of finding out after the fact,
Exactly.
3 years down the road, well, what happened here? Well, that core sample didn't come out quite right.
Right.
And many of these are becoming pay items for contractors. So the technology improvements and where the states are going with this information and the technology not only benefits the agencies and the owners, but benefits the contractors as well, because they are providing more incentives by using this technology. And this is what this grant's all about.
Yeah, that's
what this grant is.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going with it, is to be able to know what the temperature is of this material, to be able to help it when you're laying it down now, but also maintain it later on. It just helps them so much more to make these roads last longer. And one of the things that came up, back to the ConExpo topic, one of the things that came up with one of the guests who came to our TopCon booth, he said, so do I need, the key word, do I need a thermal mapping technology for every road that I make? And in the crowd, there's so many people around, I heard an answer that really kind of stuck with me. It said, if I have a 10-acre property and I'm laying a road down, no, just lay a road down. But if I'm working for on a federal project or a state project, then yes, now everything that you just said applies, where if I'm going to be checked after we lay this road, what was the quality of it? All those little parameters that we need to know about it. I can't guess, and I can't do it the old way, using a thermal mapper to drive over the road surface, literally take a thermal map of the existing road condition, to have all that information, to be able to make informed decisions. It's something I don't think I would have ever thought of even just 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and it's all part of QCQA.
Yeah.
And this again, and I'm going to reiterate, the states and feds are moving in these directions because they want to improve the longevity of the road, because it saves them money if the road lasts longer.
Yeah.
The smoother the road is, the longer the tires maintain contact with the road, the less chance the road is to break apart early. Same with thermal segregation and compaction coefficients and everything that goes along with it. And the e-ticketing, you think of how many hours, and I know how many hours it takes to process a stack of truck tickets for a day.
Right.
How long it takes to process that and get payment at the end of the day. if all this is electronic and seamless, and then we have a record of everything, and it's not Big Brother, it's just we need to know where our quality is, where our
That's right.
breakdowns are, and we know this in real time.
Yeah.
So, and this expands into even broader technologies that we'll discuss later on.
Exactly. And that, you and I, obviously, Jim, we could do this for a while, but the real reason we're here today is to talk about this $60 million grant. One more time. $60 million grant, right? And that's kind of what we've been talking about this whole time, that the federal government has made available these funds that if you see at the bottom of the screen there, and in fact, I'll go ahead and show our screen here so we can show you a website of what this URL looks like. That the federal government has put together money. There you go. And so if everybody goes to topcomposition.com/NA/adapt now, you can see here everything kind of what we wanted to draw your attention to in this live stream. At the very top, kind of tells you about everything Jim and I have been discussing. But right there in the center, accelerate assistance, the $60 million in federal grant money. The blue, you don't have to click it, but just so you can see, there's a press release. Yeah, there's a schedule now to talk to us. But down below, there's a link to a press release with all the legal mumbo jumbo jargon about what the whole program is. You can read, it's a PDF there to really get your full information. But if you scroll down just a little bit more, this is really what we want to draw everybody's attention to. So this Thursday, 2 more days from now, at noon Central, Thursday the 30th of July, is a Federal Highway Administration ACTTMCDD program. And what that means is everything that Jim and I have been talking about, is how the government is putting together $60 million of available funds. But they're looking, and I can kind of highlight some of the verbiage of their webinar. They're seeking applications from eligible entities, that's us, who are to develop sites for large-scale installation and operation of advanced transportation technologies to improve safety, efficiency, system performance, and infrastructure return on investment. Well, if that's not just what Jim and I have been talking about this whole time, to improve safety, to improve the efficiency of system performance, how do we build a road today? How do we make that more efficient? They're looking for people to leverage these technologies to help lay down and improve the infrastructure today. The webinar is this Thursday, 2 days from now at noon Central. And on this page of the URL that you see at the bottom center, positioning.com/NA/adapt now, can take you to that registration link where you can hear from our friends in the federal government. There you go. And you can register for the webinar and hear from them of what they're looking for and how to apply for these funds, and to hopefully connect all of these dots, how to leverage existing technology, to leverage these existing funds, and to help make this infrastructure of ours better than it ever has been before. So excellent. The real reason here, just to repeat one more time, the real reason we're doing this live stream today, everybody, is to draw your attention to that website at the bottom. And if you have a second on Thursday, tune in and register for that webinar and tune in and hear what they have to share about how these funds are available to help us all. So,
and if I can add something to that, Oscar, education is a big key. We were talking yesterday on a conference call, and we were talking about implementation of technologies. And there's so much technology available, not only that we provide, but across various industries. But if you don't know what it does or how it's used, you're not going to look at it. And with this grant money coming out, it gives us the ability to have, that visibility and get educated on what is needed and what's being asked for by the federal government and the state DOTs to implement these technologies. So if you aren't aware of it now, you will be very soon, and you may as well be ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very key point. I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. So, but with that, that's kind of what I wanted to get across. The one more time commercial, the URL down below, topcomposition.com/NA/adapt now has all the information we've talked about today. as well as a link to register yourself for the webinar in 2 days on Thursday the 30th. So perfect. Well, that's what I wanted to cover. Jim, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you, Oscar, for inviting me today, and I had a great time. And if anybody has any questions, they generally know how to get a hold of me. So,
Yeah. Well, thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you all soon on the next one.
all right. Thanks.